What is Thor's favorite food? Tortillas. How do Ant-Man and the Wasp get around town? They take the buzz. Oh man, those are pretty cheesy even for me, but I'm gonna keep telling them because I know you guys are probably rolling on the floor laughing right now. Um, Good morning, seventh grade. We are picking up where we left off last Friday, chapter 13, section 2. So, in the previous video, I talked about Japanese culture, their achievements in art and architecture, and literature, drama, poetry, basically the achievements of Japan's golden age. The second half of chapter 13, section 2, is about Japanese Buddhism. So, right now we are going to talk about 5 different Buddhist sects. That is SECTS, for those of you whose ears just perked up. SECTS. So, let's get right into it. The first sect we're going to talk about is called, let's see, where am I? I'm losing it. Yes, the first sect we're going to talk about is called the Tendai Sect. Actually, you know what? I got a little ahead of myself. We are on slide 9 right now. So, and by the way, I apologize for these slides being all scrunched up together. I don't know what happened when I made the slides. The formatting looked pretty good. And then when I uploaded it to Classroom, everything got all scrunched up. So now it's kind of hard to read certain parts of it. I apologize for that. All right. So, Japanese Buddhism. Oh, wait, we did talk about this already, didn't we? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, we are on slide 12. I was right the first time. The Tendai Sect. Okay, so first off, why did Japanese Buddhist monks form different sects? Well, this is because Buddhism is a very flexible religion. Those of you who remember learning about Buddhism last year, we learned one of the reasons that Buddhism spread so quickly across Asia is because it's very adaptable to cultures and beliefs. So it's possible from a Buddhist perspective to be both a Buddhist and a practicer of the Shinto religion, for example, right? Buddhism makes room for belief in the Shinto gods. Now, the adherents to the Shinto religion did not think that the kami would be okay with Buddhism. But from the Buddhist perspective, there's no problem with still believing in kami, right? From their perspective, they're flexible, right? They just kind of like fill in the gaps that other religions leave. Why did Buddhism spread to Japan? That's what we talked about in the last video. So if you don't remember that, you need to look back at the last video. Okay, the Tendai Sect. So the Tendai Sect is a sect founded by a Buddhist monk in the 800s named Saicho. Saicho was a Japanese Buddhist monk who traveled to China, and he learns about Great Raft Buddhism. So some of you might remember Great Raft Buddhism from 7th grade. Great Raft Buddhism is a major school of Buddhism that teaches that the teachings of the Buddha are like a raft that carries people across the sea of life, right? So you need to adhere to the teachings of the Buddha. The Great Raft Buddhism, Tendai Sect, has a few sutras, right? Sutras are scriptures where the teachings of Buddhism are written down. And the different sects we're going to be learning about now have different sutras. So these sects are similar to each other in their basic beliefs, but they differ from each other primarily in the sutras and in the teachings about how to achieve enlightenment. So the Tendai Sect sutras teach that all living things are a part of something called the universal Buddha, right? So this means that all living things are good and that no living thing is bad. That means no person is bad either. No one is too evil or bad or lowly to be able to achieve enlightenment. So it's attractive to people who are from lower castes, lower classes, who maybe want to achieve enlightenment. What is the universal Buddha? Well, this is an idea that the Buddha exists everywhere and is accessible by everyone. It's kind of like the Force in Star Wars, except the Force in Star Wars is only accessible by Jedi and Force sensitive people with a high midichlorian account or high midichlorian count. According to the Tendai Sect, however, the Buddha is accessible by anyone. You don't have to be specially sensitive to the Buddha. Anyone can access the universal Buddha. This does not mean that the Buddha is God. So they do not believe that the Buddha is God. So followers of this sect obviously believe that Buddhism is for everyone, not just monks and nuns. All right, next sect. It's called the Shingon Sect. By the way, I'm sure I'm pronouncing these wrong, but do the best I can. All right. This sect is also called the True Word Sect. So you'll notice that a lot of these sects have more than one name. Right? So this one, Shingon, is also called True Word. And this was started by a monk named Kukai or something like that. All right. So this sect teaches in its sutras that enlightenment is achieved through speech, body, and mind. Right. So Kukai, like Saicho, is a Japanese monk who goes to China to study Buddhism, and he learns about secret Buddhist rituals, and he learns that in China it's common for people to believe they can achieve enlightenment by repeating secret words through a form of meditation called mantras. Right, so a mantra is a sacred word, chant, or sound repeated over and over and over again in order to increase your spiritual power. Right? So the Shingon sect is a little more exclusive than the Great Raft sect. So it's very appealing to nobles because nobles are going to have the time to actually study these sutras and learn these secret mantras and rituals and spend time doing it because nobles have a lot more free time. It's also attractive to nobles because it's more exclusive. All right, the next sect is called Pure Land Buddhism. So Pure Land Buddhism, like the Tendai Sect Buddhism, Great Raft Buddhism, is appealing to everyone. It's open to all classes of society. Pure Land Buddhism, just like the Tendai Sect, is based on Great Raft Buddhism. Now, they focus on a Buddhist idea called the Bodhisattva. The Bodhisattva, some Buddhists believe, is a merciful being, maybe a person or like an angelic being, who achieves enlightenment, but instead of moving on to their reward, nirvana, they decide to remain on earth to help others learn to achieve enlightenment. Right? So the Buddha, if you remember way back in 7th grade, rather than enjoying nirvana, decides to return to live out the rest of his life on earth as a bodhisattva. Right? So he's a person who has achieved enlightenment, who wants to spread the teachings of the Buddha, of Buddhism on earth. All right. Now in Japan, Pure Land Buddhism is centered around a bodhisattva called Amida. So in China and India, the bodhisattva they focus on is Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, who became Buddha. In Japan, they focus on a bodhisattva called Amida, which is a being who rules the Pure Land paradise. So they believe Pure Land Buddhist adherents can go to a paradise ruled by this being called Amida. Not a god, just rather a person or angel who has achieved enlightenment. And they believe that the way you enter this paradise is only by placing complete trust in Amida and by repeating his name over and over again. This is appealing to people because people like the idea that there's someone out there who wants to help you achieve enlightenment. And that's who Amida is. And that it's also possible to achieve enlightenment. Right? So Pure Land Buddhism is the largest Buddhist sect in Japan today. All right. The Nichiren. The Nichiren form of Buddhism is our fourth sect. This is a unique form of Buddhism because it actually originates in Japan, not China. So it originates at the same time as Pure Land Buddhism in the 1200s during Japan's Golden Age. So why does it originate in the 1200s? Well, partly because this is the time of the Mongol invasion. There isn't a strong emperor. And the founder of the Nichiren form was a Buddhist monk, Japanese monk named Nichiren, who said that Japan was having all these problems with like the Mongol invaders because there was a lot of false Buddhism going around, especially those fake Buddhists known as the Pure Land people, right? So Nichiren did not really like the Pure Land Buddhists. He taught that the only way to achieve enlightenment is through something called the Lotus Sutra. That's what Nichiren means. It means, Nichiren means sun lotus, right? Now, why would that be significant in Japan? Think about what we learned about Japan's relationship to the sun in chapter 12, right? Japan has a special relationship to the sun. So Nichiren means sun lotus. They believe in the Lotus Sutra. So you would have to read and memorize the Lotus Sutra. Of course, most Japanese people can't read at this time. So Nichiren said it's enough for them to just repeat the phrase, praise the wonderful law of the Lotus Sutra repeatedly, right? And if you internalize that, you can achieve enlightenment by repeating that sutra. So Nichiren is very popular at this time for people who don't like Pure Land Buddhism and who are frustrated with the Mongol invasion and want to blame someone. Right? He's also popular because he supposedly predicted a lot of disasters that were going to happen because of Pure Land Buddhism. So when these disasters happened, a lot of people thought, oh, wow, this Nichiren guy can predict the future. Maybe we should listen to him. All right, last one is called Zen Buddhism. Zen Buddhism focuses on meditation, which occurs when you empty your mind in order to make room so you can achieve spiritual growth. This is attractive because people think that this is the Buddha's way of achieving enlightenment through meditation. So it's like the most pure form of Buddhism. The samurai really like Zen Buddhism because meditation is a way for them to focus their thoughts and get fear of death out of their heads. It makes them better soldiers, gives them an advantage in battle. So it's not about prayers or rituals that allow you to achieve enlightenment. It's about clearing your mind through individual effort. And so Zen Buddhism also has a really big influence on Japanese art, especially no drama. All right, so that's it for our Buddhist sects. Tomorrow we will learn about Japanese society.